Sorry, we have a long agenda. Please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Additions to the agenda, we have a couple tonight. One that Jeff brought to us, Patty is going to come speak to us about the Governor Hunt House on behalf of the Planning Commission. I'm going to put that under old business because I think we've talked about that a couple times before, and she won't be here till later. Two, need to discuss Michelle Milrook's minimum pay per meeting. You can put that under new business, under number 9.
Mr. Chair, we also need to discuss the restroom signage in this building.
Okay. I really thought we were done. Okay.
Sorry, I
restroom.
just remembered that Sandy mentioned that on voting day and I had forgotten all about it.
This
Okay. Okay. Restroom signage, so all three of those things, can I get a motion to add them, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to add Patty O'Donnell, Governor Hunt House discussion, Michelle Milrook's minimum pay per meeting discussion, and restroom signage discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. I do have remarks for the first time in a very long time. And I'm going to read it, so bear with me because I did not memorize this by any means. As we are looking into a new year of town business, I want to address something that has been brought to my attention over the last few weeks. With the freedom of social media, we as residents and elected officials of the town specifically are provided with a great forum to communicate with the residents of Vernon, and it's important to remember that we have a duty to represent the town in a positive light. It's easy to get dragged into the bad side of social media from what we feel is innocent banter to blatant character remarks about someone. Social media is a great tool to disseminate information to a mass audience quickly, but it can easily be used inappropriately, as we all have seen. Please remember there is no reset button for life. You can't take anything back. You can't undo anything you say or do. Actions have consequences. The things you say each day can have a lasting impact on your life or the life of others. Be vigilant about making sure what you say is true in speech and online is each individual's responsibility. The town of Vernon is a great community, and if we remember these things, we will become even greater. Yes, we have Bill. Come on up, my friend. We are going to discuss a laptop, a desktop, and a server. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, I had something I wanted to say.
Oh, come on up.
Oh.
Is it regarding an agenda item or a non-agenda item?
Non-agenda item.
Okay, we do those at the end. But if you need to, do you need to leave?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, this is a letter that I wrote to the Select Board and Vernon residents. In response to your statement at the February 26, 2019 emergency Select Board meeting, when you stated that the Treasurer's Office did nothing other than to speak with Heather about the inventory, you were misinformed. Cindy had told Michelle of this problem numerous times in the 1.5 years it was not being done. She again told Michelle that the inventory was not being done when Michelle asked about ordering more trash bags. Cindy also told her that there was not enough funds to pay for the bags. At that time, Michelle did an inventory of the large bags only. You misled the other select members by saying money was missing. At no time has any of the town money have been unaccounted for or missing. The spreadsheet provided by the town administrator was based on pennies instead of dollars and gallons instead of bags. It did exactly what you intended it to do, create confusion so that you could insinuate that wrongdoing had been done. I did not reply at that emergency meeting as I was shocked and stunned. I could not believe my eyes nor my ears at the animosity and pure hatred that showed clearly in how you treated and spoke to the treasurer. You were elected to do what is best for the town, not slandering employees and treating residents and taxpayers as rudely as you did that evening. I encourage all residents to watch the February 26th meeting and decide if they wish to continue giving such power to someone who cannot control his own temper. This year has been a stressful one for the Treasurer's Office, as you have repeatedly interfered with the running of the office, something that you stated in the previous Select Board meeting that you never do. We have been told not to do an important part of our job, to question bills that are submitted for payment. We are then verbally berated and screamed at and threatened by the town administrator for doing our jobs. She has made the workplace hostile and tense. This whole debacle, I feel, is in retaliation to us questioning who did the electrical work for the new key system. If not an unlicensed handyman, as this was the only bill that was submitted for payment, then who? Maybe you should look within yourself before questioning us about our honesty and integrity. Thank you for your time.
Bill, come on up.
I prepared a little outline, use it in some background material if you'd like to
I can pass those around.
take a look. I don't have enough for everybody, I'm sorry, but
We can share.
Share. Your time is valuable, and I'm just trying to be organized coming in front of you. I want to thank you for volunteering your time. Not many people come forward. It's nice to see this group to do that.
Thanks, Bill.
Do you want me to start with what I planned, or do you want to deviate from this?
No, you want to go through the laptop, the desktop, and then the server replacement? Is that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, let's do it.
You know, I think just a background of myself, Vermouth Computers started supplying services to the town and the library 1999. I've been here quite often. Obviously, I'm at the pleasure of the selectmen and work with the town officials. I think one of the most important things that I do in trying to safeguard your assets here is trying to balance cost, risk, and productivity. And it is a balancing act, that if you want higher productivity, you're spending more money. You want to reduce risk, you're spending more money. You know, if you want to save money, then productivity may go down and risk may go up. You know, it's that balancing act that I look at. Looking over our records, you know, your uptime has been phenomenal. You look at your server uptime, and you're exceeding 99.99%. You know, PCs will fail from time to time. Even those have a remarkable record here. Maybe too good too, because we tend to hold on to assets probably too long. But nevertheless, we've had a good track record here. A couple of deadlines I wanted to bring up to make sure that everybody was aware of them. There's two important deadlines coming up, January 14th of 2020, and that's the end of your server operating system support from Microsoft and Windows 7 security support from Microsoft. And with that in mind, I think we've been gearing towards that for a number of years, looking at the server replacement, looking at PC replacements, and going forward. When you look at those deadlines, the server probably doesn't have any good alternative but to be replaced. It's 7 years old now. By 2020, it'll be going on to 8 years. You know, typical life of a server in a professional environment, it's 2 years. People often stretch it to 4 years. You're at 7 years. You know, be 8 years next year. So it's you know, as a physical asset, time to replace it, in my opinion. The techniques for upgrading is replacement of PCs. You have a couple old PCs under your roof here. They should be replaced. They're too old for Windows 10 upgrades. Other PCs that we obtained in 2017 are totally upgradable, and there's a couple different techniques to go through those upgrades. On the second page of what I handed out is listing of the assets that I know of and what's upgradable for the PCs are listed there. All of those upgradable assets have Windows 10 upgrades that have been ordered. They're free of charge from the original manufacturer. They came in knowingly with Windows 7, Windows 10 with an upgrade. We intentionally went with the Windows 7 to relieve ourselves of some of the issues that Windows 10 was having in the early days. I think it was a wise decision. I think we saved a lot of money by going in that direction in the beginning. Any questions on just the foundation before I start talking about the laptop and the server in particular? The third page has an overview of a lot of options and particular options for your Windows server. This is very much the same caliber of machine of what you have now. There's redundancy built in with the drive system so that drives don't have extremely heavy duty on any one drive. The balance is balanced on the load. And if there is a failure, there is redundancy built in so that they keep on, server will keep on running even if you had a drive failure. There's also dual power supplies. If there's a power supply failure, the server keeps on running. These assets are checked on a periodic basis. We do maintenance on the equipment, and the status is checked typically 3 to 4 times a year for its stability and effectiveness. Total hardware looks like it comes out at $7,194. That's base hardware and transitioning for another battery backup and newer drives for a backup system. It's based on the ability to keep the current in place while the transition is being made so that there's very little loss of productivity going from one server to the other.
Great.
Questions on the server or the direction?
Anybody have any questions?
No, sounds good.
Well, we are not technological geniuses by any chance. That's why we pay you to make the right decisions for us.
And there is a lot of decision making. I go back to the risk factor and the productivity. This is based on IBM Lenovo equipment. One of the major factors involved in that selection of a vendor is that they have their main depots in the northern New England area, in Springfield, Mass, and Keene, New Hampshire. We're right in the middle, and Troy, New York. We're kind of right in the middle of where parts are stored for this area. And typically, we get very good response. They have very long time employees for their main support people. People I've known personally for 10, 15, 20 years in some cases. I like the direction, I like the hardware selection. We know it, and we can service it, and it's regular back of the hand stuff for us.
Okay.
The fourth page is option on upgrading the base warranty. I would suggest that that's done. That is going from a 3-year next day response to a 3-year 4-hour response for the town. And when you say next day, it's really a 9 to 5 next day response. If you call in or if you close a case that you need support at 5:01 on a Friday, you get support on Tuesday. 5:01 Friday is considered Monday, next day support is Tuesday. 4-hour response is 24/7, anytime, 24 hours a day. They'll be here in 4 hours to service the material. I recommend that. The other fees are for my estimates for the server setup and configuration and server changeover for getting access in the programs running on the new server and getting everybody up and running. Typically, I overestimate. History is about 25 to 30% in overestimation. Can't guarantee that. It's my history. Things happen. Some users take longer than other users for going from point A to point B, so it's always a little up in the air where we end up on the labor, but typically I'm under that. Questions on the labor side? Next page is, this was an update from the December pricing I sent out for options on laptops for the secretary replacement. This is probably in my mind, the bottom of the options for a Windows-based system. You can get less expensive systems, which are Google Android based. They would not run Windows software, such as it would not run Microsoft Office and Word, for example. You know, that is a direction. You can pick them up for $200 or $300. You'll be using most likely an internet connection with Google Docs to do the minutes, and then having someone translate that into a Word document to send it out and record it. So I think these are two options that are, one's in stock, one is estimated to be in next week. Windows-based, they are not fast machines, they are AMD processor, but, you know, looking at just for word processing, once it's booted up, you're into Word, typing would be fine, saving the document would be fine, and move on. You know, some of the things that reduce risk for all your assets here is virus protection and backup protection, and that's, you know, licensed. You're on government schedules for the pricing of that, and that type of licensing will be applied to this as well. Anything that's connected to the town network needs to be addressed for risk. That if you have a wireless that is here connected to the network upstairs, you're exposing that network to whatever is on your device here that you might be using for note-taking as well. So, questions on that direction?
I don't think so. No. Anybody? No? Okay. So I'm just trying to go through your paperwork and see what's what. So the two options for the laptop are $391 and $523, and then $129 setup fee for you to prep it and get it going.
That's correct.
Correct? Okay. And then, did we talk about the desktop for the town administrator?
You didn't. Like,
Oh,
you
I
have the
didn't.
estimate.
No,
Do you want to see, do you have a copy of this? Do you want?
I don't have that with me. No, sorry. Overlooked that. So most of your PCs were replaced in 2007. If you look at page 2, you can see upgradable ones, and all those upgradable ones were purchased in 2007 and can be upgraded. This proposal that I sent out on December 20th is still valid. This is a business-orientated PC. It's a faster PC than most. It's in the same caliber as the ones that we purchased in 2017. Notably, a hard drive with non-movable parts. It's much faster. Less risk is a promise for the future that no moving parts, motors aren't going to die. It should last longer and be faster because of it. Windows 10, 16 gigs. This is designed for a higher user, I would say. Either Tim, Michelle, or someone in the Treasurer's Department would be the target for this type of machine. If you look at the need of replacing PCs, this would fit into the what I would call a round robin type of an upgrade. You're taking a PC that can be upgraded, you replace it with a new one, you take the one that can be upgraded, upgrade it, and then pass it on to the next person. So that you're buying one that starts the rolling effect to get all the PCs shifted around. They're all pretty much like quality. Michelle has one of the oldest still. Hers was not upgraded in the 2017 timeframe. And the assistant clerk's machine was not upgraded at that time. So those are two old ones dating back to 2012.
Oh, that one's not upgraded yet either? I think that one was done.
Tim's was, but not the assistant
No?
clerk's. I don't believe so.
Because I thought I had the last one.
No, I would say you and Kathy. I'm sorry, you and Susan.
Okay.
Yeah. The other assets that I do not know about is what's at the Public Works and what's at the Rec Department. But we should find out about the status of those as well. Only one technical issue is your your gas dispensing system uses a software package called Gas Boy. It's based on Windows XP, which was before Windows 7. We're running the Windows XP emulation on the Assistant Treasurer's PC, and we're kind of stuck there. Windows XP won't run in a Windows 10 environment anymore like it does on the Windows 7. I would think that we would, I've been in contact or put out an email to your Public Works department person trying to find out what contact he has for Gas Boy and where we are in that. I know that you started a capital reserve account this year for 2028, 2029 to replace the actual physical gas tank. I'm not sure of the status of the pumps and electronics on the pumps in relation to Gas Boy. I know in 2012, it was too old to go to Windows 7. So I suspect it wasn't upgraded, but I don't know that. And we can look forward. If it wasn't upgraded, we just have to stick a machine in the corner to run the Gas Boy software to retrieve the gallons used, basically, and the allocation between vehicles, I think is how it's used.
Okay. Select board questions, Chris?
Nothing.
I'm good, thanks.
Sandy? Jane? That's what I kind of figured. All right, so the three things that we're here to really talk about is a laptop for Michelle Merrick, the replacement computer for the town administrator, and the server replacement. The desktop for the town administrator, that fits within the budget of what we have set aside. I know that, so if everybody's happy with that, we can, move forward with that, and we'll just do this all at once. The laptop for the select board secretary, we have two different options for that one. Chris, what's your opinion on the laptop for?
Truthfully, sir, I don't know enough about this, so I would have to defer to whatever the recommendation from Bill would be here.
Okay. Jeff?
Guess I would probably go with the lowest price.
Okay. Sandy?
I would too if it's just for Word.
Jane?
If it's gonna perform okay. Do you feel that's
Are
a
we
choice?
replacing a different laptop, or are they all desktops that are being replaced?
Michelle,
I mean, a different one in the building. Is
Michelle-
there another one that could go to her that is being replaced, that would be up to speed for what she's doing?
don't believe so, but you might be able to answer that too. I don't think we have another laptop, do we?
I don't believe so.
The only
Dave
one I saw
Emery
was
has
Kathy
one at
had
the
one.
EOC, but that's in use.
Oh, he doesn't need it.
What's the treasurer laptop? Is that one remaining?
Yes, I think the treasurer's laptop is used for your town meetings.
Okay.
And
But that one's not being replaced.
That was new.
I think that's new on
Okay.
Windows 10, so I think that one's set in.
So that was the only question I had.
Right. So I agree. I think we should go with the lower end laptop since it's literally only used for Word processing and email. I don't think we need to spend a ton of money on that. And the server, if I'm seeing everything, I want to try to do a vote all at once, or we can break it up and separate. It doesn't really matter to me, but I think we might be able to do this all at once. The server is the 7194, and the 2952 is the labor setup and the warranty, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we have $10,000 set aside for the server, Michelle?
What's that?
We have $10,000 set aside for
We
the
do,
server?
and it's, yes, it's ready to spend
So
now.
we're right there. So we're $10,146.
Which we can take the remaining out of the computer upgrading.
Or Bill can help us out by $146, so we don't go over budget.
I would always want to help you out in any way I can. and I would strive to reduce the labor as much as possible and get in under 10,000 if it's possible without jeopardizing the job.
I like it. I like it. I like you. We'll keep you.
I would suggest whoever makes the motion to, if you want to do this, include that this will not go out to bid because the labor is so high. By bid policy, it should go out to bid, but with Bill's expertise and knowledge of our computer system, you can vote to waive that bid policy for circumstances like this.
Okay.
Okay. I move that we waive the bid policy and that we go with Bill Vermouth's proposals for the laptop for the board secretary, the lower priced one, the desktop for the town administrator as presented, and the server replacement as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded to do all those things. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right. Very good. We are all set, Bill.
All set.
And if you don't break my capital for $10,000, I'll be really, really happy.
I will strive to make you happy, Josh.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Don't say that too loud.
What, to make you happy?
Yeah, yeah. Nobody really likes to make me happy.
Hopefully the exception today. Have a good evening.
Thanks,
Thank
Bill.
you.
Have a great night. Thanks for coming. Open public comments, agenda items only. Seeing none. No department and committee reports tonight. Approval of regular meeting minutes from February 19th, please. Thank you.
Move we accept the February 19th minutes as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the February 19th minutes as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Special meeting minutes from February 26th.
I move we accept the special meeting minutes of February 26th as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the February 26th meeting minutes as written. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Reorganizational minutes from March 5th, please.
I move we accept these with some corrections.
Okay.
The time is
Okay.
kind of interesting.
Yeah.
See what happens when I do the minutes? It's never gonna be good.
It's okay.
Oh, yeah, right here.
And there was a slight spelling error at the bottom of page 2, but that doesn't matter. But it's grand juror, not town juror, on page 3.
It hit you when you got outside.
Where?
Bottom of page 3, the motion was for the grand juror, not the town juror.
Oh.
So I move we accept them as corrected. Any more corrections?
Anybody else have any corrections to that one?
She
You good? She got yours? Okay, great. So you made a motion, do we get a second?
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded to accept the reorganizational meetings from March 5th as corrected. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
They were all good minutes.
Thank you. Bills and warrants,
Did those make
please.
it all the way over here?
Jeff handed it back to me. I thought you were done. Sorry.
We can't
I
vote.
cut you out on that.
No. I move that we authorize payment of the following warrants and ratify the very last. I'll explain more. Okay.
Go for it.
So warrant 18T, accounts payable for $59,727.19. 7S payroll, $9,014.51. 8S payroll, $8,211.01. 9S payroll, $9,004.45. And 10S payroll, $8,472.93. And to ratify 17T, accounts payable, $16,541.96.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the bills and warrants and ratification as read. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. So, next thing is We talked, I don't know, there's a couple meetings back about making sure that Skip Sansoucy was on our side as we renegotiate or relook at the Velco contract. And this is the result of that conversation, is his contracts.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept and sign the agreement.
Question before.
It should be.
So I'll second it so we can start the conversation. How's that?
Okay, my question is, on page 4, he referred to a 2019 rate sheet attached. Did you get that?
This is what Carol gave me. You got everything? No, I didn't.
Because it's under the compensation and terms.
Oh, the compensation.
I saw that.
A
On
rate?
page
Yeah,
7.
right here's your rate sheet,
Is
the
it
very
this?
last page.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Geez, I went in the wrong line of work.
I'm not kidding.
Less than a
Me
lawyer.
too. No comment.
Okay.
Okay.
You can see.
That's what
Right.
you make.
Chris, questions regarding the Skip's contract?
No, sir.
Jeff?
Good.
Sandy? Gene, anything else?
All set.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We moved in seconded, sorry, my fault. Moved and seconded to accept the Sansoucy contract. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Great. Boot drop for the Vernon Fire,
We can sign it.
Vernon Fire Department. Chris, if you
I
want.
would like to make some corrections to that.
Yeah.
Okay,
The Vernon Fire Department is not actually who is doing this. It is Mike Class that is doing it.
okay,
He was going to reach out to the fire department, the sheriff's department, and VSP and see if they would either help with emergency lighting or just to be involved. His plan is to do it out front of this building so that there is a large line of sight. He does have signage for that. The date would be May 4th, with May 11th being a rain date. This is to raise money for the town picnic and fireworks. So we have a resident that has come forth that wants to do this and is seeking approval to do the boot drop.
and it's gonna be out here on 142?
Yep.
On 142, we're gonna have to get permission from the state for that. We can't touch Route
And-
142,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
we don't have jurisdiction.
No,
The
we
select
do
board doesn't
not.
have jurisdiction.
correct,
on
and,
that.
and that's,
I'm aware of that.
I had mentioned to them that there should be a conversation with VSP about this and find out what needs to happen from there.
So here's my thought. We have this nice little town road that runs right next to the town office that's right off 142. If he has some signage, he can possibly redirect traffic onto a town road to do his boot drop, and they can keep moving on Governor Hunt Road. We can't screw with the flow of traffic on 142, unfortunately. But if he can get those people
50 miles an hour.
to turn left into here, which I know is not as convenient, but if you're gonna donate, you're probably gonna pull over and donate anyway, in my opinion.
Be a lot safer too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for everybody, not just the people that are doing the boot drop, and for the people that are driving when somebody locks up their brakes to throw a quarter in the freaking boot. That would not be a good accident to have.
This was all sent to me via text messages, to which my response was, you are on the next agenda.
Yeah, no worries.
So,
So what is this little road called? Sorry for my ignorance.
Burroughs Road.
Burroughs Road.
Burroughs Road,
Yeah,
okay.
between
So do we,
the side.
I mean, do we want to leave it as broad as on a town road? What if he wants to do it on Pond Road or something?
yeah, if we
I'm not
want to leave it
sure.
on a town road, that's fine. Yeah, I don't,
And within that motion, could we put in there that if he brings in approval from a state agency that he can do it out there, then that's his
He'd
own
want to
deal.
call V-Trans.
Yeah, but I mean, as long as he brings that in prior to May 4th, otherwise he's restricted to a town road, is that
Sure. If you
acceptable?
wanna, if you wanna make the motion, you can do that.
I still have concerns about most of the town roads, just in that you're gonna be having, like you said, people all of a sudden are not gonna stop and,
He does have emergency signage that would be used for that.
Yeah.
And that's why he was looking at this spot, was because of the extensive line of sight that he has
Yeah.
coming from both directions, so.
so Burroughs Road, I mean, you're gonna make a turn, you're gonna slow down, you're gonna be going slow.
We've done boot drops on Pond Road during like the fireworks and stuff like that, right up by the basketball court,
Yeah.
up by the rec, which has worked out okay as well, since there's a yellow flasher there and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and hopefully people obey that yellow flasher a little bit during the spring and summer months.
And again, it sounds like his intent was to try and get the fire department on board with this, at which point there would be more emergency lighting out there, so.
Yeah.
And the other option might be even better for him, is to do it in the fire department parking lot. Cause you're still on 142 and you can kind of veer off and do your thing and keep going up 142. So,
I would make a motion that we allow Mike Class to do a boot drop on a town road or town property, unless he can present us with notification from V-Trans that it is acceptable to do it on Fort Birchman Road.
I'll second that.
moved and seconded to allow boot drop on, it's May 4th and the rain date's May 11th, right?
Correct.
Okay. With the stipulations mentioned, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, great. It's the most wonderful time of the year, committee assignments. So you all have your committee lists.
I have one change that just came in.
Okay.
For the Green Up Day coordinator,
Mhm.
Emily would not be doing that
Okay.
this year, and instead it'll be Hannah Rosinski and Carrie Sparks. Have volunteered to take that. It's on the
Page
third.
3.
Oh, there we go. So-
Very cool. Glad we found somebody else.
Hannah Rosinski.
And I'll get you all updated.
So,
And Carrie Sparks.
Carrie Sparks.
so we have the option to do this all at once and accept the committee as presented. Or if you wanna go one by one, you guys tell me what you wanna do.
Oh, yeah.
Do the whole thing at once?
Yeah, fix it up.
Okay, so we're going
Have to let her
to,
go.
let's make a motion to
So
accept
I'm
it.
assuming that if you do it all at once, all of the terms that are up will just extend for the next.
Okay, that was my question about these, like, 2018 terms and what.
Yeah, that should, yeah.
They'll automatically renew? Is that-
This is me figuring out how long people are doing that,
Yeah.
because it just had terms, so I'm starting to try to put years on where I can.
Yeah.
So that I know when.
And a lot of
Make your life a
the,
lot easier.
a lot of the term ones are board appointed positions anyway. It's not, we're not accepting
They
them
are.
through this committee, through the committee appointments. We have to accept them through appointment in the
Separately,
future.
like,
Yes,
mhm.
yeah, so like the rec, you would have to, looks like maybe I'm up, or I was up, or somebody's up, and I would need to be reappointed. And,
So do you want to do those separately? Because we have those, and I think that, the assistant board has 2. that are up.
yeah, let's just do committees first, and then we can look at
I think that's it. Just-
board appointments after. Makes sense? Committees first, then board appointments?
Oh, okay,
Yes, yes?
okay.
Bueller?
Yes.
Okay.
I
So
move-
they're just all intermingled then?
I move you appoint all the committee as presented.
Moved and seconded to appoint all the committees as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. So the appointments, what do we need to do?
There's Kevin Turnley and Cindy Turnley, the Elderly Assistance Board.
I move we reappoint them to the Elderly Assistance Board.
Second.
Moved and seconded to reappoint Kevin Turnley and Cindy Turnley to the Elderly Assistance Board. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay.
And then there's, what, 4 on the Recreation Board?
Yes.
Are those terms 3 or 5?
They're a mix. They're
No,
a mix of 2 and
there's
3.
twos and threes, because those are figured out, I think,
Okay.
next to their last name on the rec board? Or are you talking about the Elderly Assistance Board?
No, talking about the rec board, because I know at one time it was a 5-year term, so I probably changed it.
Yeah, it's-
Yeah, nobody wanted that.
It's not good enough for 5 years.
Yeah, it's 2 and 3, so we keep
Right.
keep it just like we do here.
So I move that we extend the 2-year terms for the 2 years and the 3-year term for the 3 years.
Second.
They're up.
Moved and seconded to extend the 2-year terms of the Recreation Board and the 3-year terms of the Recreation Board. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
We're sure that they all want to do that.
Yes.
I went through all of them. I don't know, who
Doesn't-
seconded that
Who
one?
just seconded that? You did.
Doesn't matter, now they're appointed. You can't back out.
No, that's done.
Now they have to officially resign, send them a letter.
And I move we appoint all the others as listed, because you have some that are contact persons, they're not a committee.
The what?
Like their contact person is not a committee. So we appoint everyone else that's listed as presented.
Non-committee and non-board members. Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the non-committee and non-board members, as written. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Why was Annette Royden highlighted?
Because I had to get in touch with her,
Okay, all right.
and confirmed that she still wanted to do this, because she doesn't live in town.
Okay, perfect.
I just didn't,
The constable job description I mentioned in, I don't know, one of our last meetings that Jesse Jovan had, as the second constable, would like to take on the dog catcher responsibilities as part of that job description for the town, which would be great because Steve is ready to let go of that position. So we have a job description written out for our first and second constables that includes the animal control ordinance and all that kind of thing. So we are looking at this and deciding whether we want to accept it as the new job description for constables.
So it's pretty much the bottom is what's a change, an addition.
Yeah, the second paragraph is
With the
pretty
animal.
much the only change. Because the power to enforce criminal law, that's a state thing, and
Yeah.
the power to enforce civil ordinance has always been part of the constable's job description.
Right.
So it's just the addition of the animal control officer powers.
I move we accept the job description along with the state statutes for this constable.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the new job description for constables. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Are we keeping that pay rate at the same as what Steve had? Because that went up pretty drastically from when the constables used to do what was assumed to be their job until recently. So are we gonna keep that at the same amount?
I think it's something you need to find out what it is.
Yeah, I don't even know.
It's, isn't
Well,
it
we went to-
50 bucks?
I thought we went to 75.
Yeah, I think it was 75 to 100, hang on. I mean, Steve never put it in because he never had to go up to Brattleboro to bring an animal. So it's really, if you're really taking a lot of time to run to Brattleboro,
Okay.
drop off a dog
All right.
or a cat there and come back. There's really nothing if you're just responding to a complaint. There's no provision for reimbursement. And that funding comes from the dog licenses.
I understand, but is that how it was written? Because I thought the way that we moved on that was for their time, for their calls. I don't think that we went as far as saying that it was, if you make the trip all the way up to the pound, you get paid. Because
I'll
we
have
put
to
the
look
cage
at it.
in down here, so I don't think we
Right.
took it that far.
I'll have to look at it again.
Could be on the next agenda.
I could go grab it, yeah, look at it again,
Yep, that's fine.
absolutely.
Okay, we'll look at reimbursements at the next board meeting. When is Steve officially handing?
As soon as they get together, Steve's got a
Okay.
binder and so that he would hand it over whenever
Okay.
they connect.
Yeah, I don't think there's any real rush in it anyway, but. All right, approval of the select board rules. So back in March of 17, we put together these rules of engagement for select people. For a variety of different reasons. Stipend was an issue at the time and a couple other things, so.
Some of these rules may not be particularly pertinent anymore.
What do you got, Chris? We'll start with you. Go around the table.
I got nothing to go.
Okay.
I get a little concerned as to how Rule 18 conflict of interest is written. Particularly the process in their VLCT and Select Board handbook. I would like our rules, Rule 18, to be more consistent with what the sample policy is. Basically, last paragraph. After discussing the point of parliamentary inquiry, the chair of the select board should make a ruling as to whether or not the member has a conflict of interest. In the suggested sample policy in VLCT, part of the process involves that the chair and the party in question will meet informally in private to discuss any possible conflict of interest. And after that point, the board will meet to further discuss. So I'm basically suggesting that our Rule 18 conflict of interest more closely be modeled after VLCT's single policy.
So how would you want that rewritten?
Well, I think we need to table this in order to do it right.
Okay.
And I can spend a few minutes trying to go through this before the next meeting.
Okay. Everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay. Select board member
I'm
agreement,
sorry,
which.
was that the only change? Just if we're gonna table
Yeah,
it,
I
I'd like
guess
to
that's
see
true.
if there's
Does
anything else to
anybody
go
else have
over.
any changes that they'd like to see
Well,
to
I have
these?
clarification, Rule 15, it almost looks like we won't have to do these at a meeting, our clerk could approve those. Just in
Wait, which one?
15.
approve.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's just been the clerk's
in the-
prerogative to not take on that responsibility and have us go through
Then we should
everything as well.
probably take that out if we're not gonna follow it.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, we could put it back in eventually when somebody would want to do that, or we just leave it and let the clerk decide what they want to do. So essentially, you can sign all the warnings and.
And you guys don't
we
have to?
We don't ever have to look at it. That's what that Rule 15 states.
Don't have to follow the rule.
No. You can absolutely continue to do what you've been doing and bring us down the warrants to look at and sign, but we can get rid of that rule too. It doesn't,
I guess if you don't wanna see them,
I
That's not
think it'd be
cool.
a good idea, just more eyes on.
yes.
all right, so we're all in agreement to just nix it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you just wanna put, you'll still select a clerk
Right,
and an alternate, but,
right.
So maybe it just needs
So
to be
just to
reworded.
Well,
I'll
that's,
take out and approve.
that's part of the everyday process anyway. It doesn't need to be part of that doesn't need to be part of our select board rules. We're
Okay.
gonna assign a clerk and an alternate one way or the other. Whether it's in the select board rules or not, we have to have one. So I think
And
just
it's
nixing all of 15
already
makes sense.
It's already in the
In
organization.
6.
So I'm gonna take out with me.
Take the whole thing out.
Okay.
And then we'll do a rewrite on 18 to follow the VLC model. Anything else from anybody else on that one? Okay. We will throw that
So,
on the next meeting. So-
should we move the table
Yes.
this to the next meeting, or what's the process?
Yeah, the select board, well, we can just all agree to table it and we'll move on to the next one.
All right.
And the select board rules, the select board agreement, I think, has to do with this, right? There's mention of this in here,
Yes.
so we need to table this as well until we get this right.
New one. I thought I was so like ahead and I was doing my, man.
You had it signed?
Does anybody have that other contract?
He was ready to go.
Yeah.
You ready to sign?
Oh,
The
Sign
contract?
everything.
You gotta read
do you
through
have
what.
Sansoucy's contract?
Oh, I didn't sign that.
So they have, I
Uh,
never read
so
that.
that's what we're gonna do with the agreement is,
Since the agreement refers to the rules, let's just table the agreement until we
Okay.
get the rules right, and
I
we'll
had-
just
I had
do
a
this all
couple-
again.
with the agreement, I had a
Oh,
couple
okay.
other suggestions, but you can wait.
No, shoot,
Go for it.
let's get the changes out on the table and then we can
Okay.
look at it all at once.
So essentially, it's like board member agreement. The meat of it is addressing confidentiality regarding participation in executive sessions on behalf of the select board. 1 through 4, current board member, I understand and agree, confidential information, et cetera, is not to be discussed outside of executive session. I understand and agree that such confidential information is not to be disclosed through any means to any third party unless authorized in advance by the select board. Number 4, I agree to abide by the instructions given to me from the majority of the select board regarding note-taking. And at that point, I would include note-taking or other means of recording. We've all got cell phones that can record conversations, so I would suggest that. Number 5, I don't think is necessary. Basically, do it, if you agree to the first 4 stipulations, 5 is not necessary. The only other thing, if we want to keep it, I agree that in the event I am requested to disclose confidential information to any persons other than those authorized by the majority of the select board, I will immediately notify the chairman of the select board. This is a case of who does the chairman notify if he or she is requested to divulge confidential information. So in my opinion, let's just take 5 out because the first 4 essentially make it, make it not necessary.
Makes sense to me. You guys?
No problem.
Or you can
And
just have, instead of chair, just say, we'll notify the select board.
I don't think the whole thing's necessary, actually. It just,
Yeah, I mean.
I mean, to
it's-
me-
You get asked all the time.
but if we follow the first 4 rules,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, we're not gonna divulge any information
Right,
anyways, so.
right. I mean,
I
people
just don't-
ask you
I don't, yeah,
what went on
and I don't really understand
all
why,
the time.
if we do what we're supposed to do.
Right.
Which we will, we don't need to tell anybody about specific individuals trying to,
And I know
Get
nobody's
information
ever come to me, and I know everybody gets asked, so the
Yeah,
rules kind of
yeah,
pointless.
yeah, I guess we kind of didn't realize. Because we did our job, so,
Right.
Yeah,
so
Take it
true,
out.
we don't need 5.
all right, so let's ditch 5 and add the, or other means of recording to the first sentence of 4.
okay, so compensation stipend. This is a duplicate wording of Rule 16 in the Select Board rules. It should be in one or the other, it doesn't need to be duplicated. In the bottom sentence, I have read and agreed to the above stipulations and to the Select Board rules. So essentially, if the stipend, compensation stipend stipulation or rule is in Select Board rules,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be in this because individual Select Board members are going to agree to the rules.
All in the rules.
I mean, it's an important rule, but we really don't need to duplicate it in 2 documents. I guess the second paragraph on the agreement, in the event I do not complete a full term as Vernon Selectboard member, et cetera, is not part of the Rule 16 in the rules. So I would suggest, when we're gonna go through the rules anyways next time, to incorporate what the writing that is on the agreement, put it in the rules, and delete it from the agreement.
So essentially, losing the first 2 paragraphs
Yeah.
under compensation and
Yeah,
stipend.
just put it in the rules.
Putting them into the rules. and-
Again, because I have read and agreed to the above stipulations and to the Select Board rules.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you're committing
And
to
the
the
stip-
rules as an individual,
Right. The whole paragraph is just
It's
a
exactly
repeat
the
of
same.
Rule 16 and
except for the
17.
second paragraph, though.
Yeah.
In the event I do
Right.
not.
Yeah.
So I just suggest putting that paragraph
Right.
into the rules.
Into the rules. So put, this paragraph is not in our rules.
Yeah, so you want me to add the
You're just moving
second
it.
paragraph
Yes,
to the rules?
to the rules.
To Rule
To
16.
And take out the first paragraph.
And then we won't need this,
That whole
we
section
don't
will
need that whole
disappear.
section.
So again, the last sentence of the first paragraph, the stipend appropriated by, the stipend is payment for time dedicated to Select Board matters and all expenses incurred except travel as provided for in Rule 17 of the Select Board rules. Again, we have a case where we already have a rule, and when you sign, you approve the rules.
Right.
So essentially, as far as the member agreement, I suggest keeping the first 4 stipulations, adding in or other means of recording, delete out 5, delete the compensation stipend, the 2 paragraphs,
Mhm.
and to ensure that that is incorporated into the rules.
Good idea.
Sounds appropriate.
Okay.
We'll talk about it next time.
Anybody else have anything?
Throw that away.
No, it's gone now. but I'm done.
Relocation of emergency. Mr. Emery, you've been waiting patiently.
I have,
We appreciate that.
but I didn't fall asleep. Well, thank you, everyone, for allowing me to come here. I hope just to bring you up to date and have a discussion about where things are with the Emergency Operations Center right now. Josh was kind enough to organize a pretty good meeting last week with the new owners of North Star. We had an excellent, candid, off-the-record meeting, and it went very well. So the good news is they aren't throwing us out quickly. So we aren't under the gun to leave the space. However, it is time for us to, gracefully move versus being forced to be moved. So what I want to talk about tonight is this building is one of the places of consideration. But there's some complicators about moving up here. So one of the things that we need to do is to install a generator because in emergency operations center, if we have issues, we're going to lose power. And this building doesn't have that. So I asked King's Electric to help me figure out kind of where we need to go so we could prepare a document to send out to bid. So what you have in front of you clearly is not a bid or a proposal. It's just something for us to work from on the generator part. But before we get there, after we talk tonight about different things, if it doesn't seem feasible for us to move up here, then obviously we'll follow the other avenue, and the other avenue is to build an addition onto the fire station. Again, tonight's discussion will, lead us where we think we want to go. And probably one of the biggest things up here, things that you don't have, is a generator, nor do you have the ability for a shower. And both of those can be accomplished pretty readily. But tonight I'm prepared to just talk about the generator and see if that makes sense. When this building was built, it had an 800 amp system in here, which is outdated partially because at the time electric heat was very popular, and now again it's not very popular. So the system here was reduced to a 400 amp, although all the equipment and heavy work is 800, parts are still here. Your power comes in across Barrows Road. That's Barrows Road, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Comes from on the other side of Barrows Road, underground, and into the boiler room. The conduit that was put in isn't PVC, it's metal, and quick review of that, it's probably rotting and deteriorating. So somewhere in your near future, in the next 100 years, you're probably going to have to replace your power coming in here anyways. So if we in fact do that, we're going to change the whole thing. So the generator that would have to come in here is going to be large enough to run the whole building. So in the event that there is power outages, and I know in the last year or so, or 2 years, there's been a few times that that has happened, where the whole operation could run. You still need to run your well, you still need to run your sewer system, etc. So the generator to do that is what they call a 48K to run this entire building. So no matter what, you're going to be looking at some expenses down the road to change your power coming in. The meter is inside the building now, and that doesn't meet code, so it's going to have to be, once we touch that, we've got to move it all to the outside. And again, once you touch it, so we're actually kind of ahead of keeping this building up to code before you get into a trouble with it, if we decide to do that. So then we talked about, if you have any questions, just jump in, because I won't stop.
All right.
Okay.
I was just waiting to jump in.
Yeah, jump, quick.
All right.
No.
How was the determination made for a 48K generator?
It was made by King Electric.
Okay.
They came in and actually reviewed, it's called CVPS, and they looked at the grid and what happened and what the power that they use, as well as they've been here twice to look at the setup that's in there now.
So
And I don't know anything about it. All I know is I stay away from electricity. But
makes me
48,
nervous too.
yeah, 48K, they said, is more than adequate to run this building for a very long
In case
time.
there's some additional
Right.
things added on to it. Second question, you may not know the answer, but why propane and not diesel generator?
Well, I do know the answer. One, the propane was much less expensive. And you can store more propane in a smaller quantity to run for more days. For instance, back when you were under the regulations for the plant, you had to have power for, I think, 12 days. That's still a pretty good goal. However, typically what you shoot for now is about 6 to 7 days of fuel to run, thinking that by that time you'd be able to get a fuel truck here. So you can have a smaller storage of propane than you can of fuel oil. And so that, however, when we did this, we're not committed to it, but that was the reasoning we went with that.
Okay. My experience, propane generators, their lifespan is not as long as a diesel generator. Yes, diesel costs more, but there's a reason for it. So I would suggest really just exploring how much more expensive it is, and regarding the lifespan, and again, if it's under heavy usage, a diesel might be a better option. So I would just suggest this, somebody look into diesel, or a used one, too.
Would a diesel require an underground tank though?
No, well,
Well,
I get a
depends,
diesel
no.
generator, I don't have an underground tank.
No,
I got two of them, actually.
a lot of it would depend on the quantity, but, I know that there's some large diesel generators around us that the generator is mounted on top of the fuel
On
tank.
top of the tank, yeah.
We'll look into that.
I just think it's worth looking into.
Okay. And again, we'll be looking for two things tonight. One is, we're gonna talk about location and your authorization to let us prepare a bid document if we get there. And that bid document certainly can and will include diesel or propane, so. So we'll do some more work on
The
that.
additional question would be, as far as service, regular maintenance of the generator and service, in case over time it needs a little bit of work too, maintenance and so forth. I think that aspect is important to having a generator. It's not gonna do any good if it doesn't start up,
Right.
and it hasn't been maintained.
Right. I have experience with both diesel and propane.
Okay.
And propane, in my opinion, has been less maintenance than diesel. You run through gelling problems, et cetera, winter and stuff. Not that it can't be taken care of. But all good information, and we'll certainly,
Okay.
that will be all part of our future look into that. So I'm going to move on to a couple of other things here. Location obviously is an important part. As we indicated, they're above ground, they're not below ground. And so for this to happen, there's two spots that have been looked at that would be I'll say the easiest and what made a lot of the sense. And if you let yourself mind run a little bit, between the Barrows Road and this end of the building, there's a strip of grass right now and a couple of maple trees. That's one of the locations that it could go. The power still needs to come off that pole and come under Barrows Road. However, it'll be dug up and replaced with new stuff. So the generator, the lines would come in, there would be a transfer station that would be wooden, and the lines would come into there. And then the generator and the fuel, however, will be on concrete pads. And then from there'll be a line that would come from the generator inside the building, and there'll be some work done inside the building. That's one of the locations. So the setup is going to be identical. So whether it's here or the second location was on the Governor Hunt Road side in that grass spot there. So again, the line from the telephone pole would come across the Barrows Road, and then it would take and have to cut across the parking lot now into the building. Part of the reason is aesthetics and noise. Generators do make noise. Contrary to popular belief, they don't whisper. And that size of a generator doesn't make, I mean, it's not going to drive you nuts, but...
When you don't have any power, you don't mind how much...
That's right. So if it's on this side of the building, this edge of the building, the noise could be a factor for people working on that end. If it sets over on the Governor Hunt Road side of the building, there's less of a factor of the noise issues. And you could build, some sort of barrier between each of them. Trees and bushes and stuff are silencers. That would help, as well as aesthetically, you wouldn't notice it as much.
I guess that would be one of my concerns is taking it away from our building to keep us quiet and then putting it that much closer to a resident across the street.
We just gotta be sure he doesn't tap into it. Right. However, I'm not sure that distance for him would make any difference. But
Okay.
it is, it's certainly going to be closer to his house. So those are the two spots that we have. So we're going to call this end option number 1, as indicated in here, and option number 2 is the Governor Hunt Road. The Governor Hunt Road is a little bit more money because it's a little more wiring and a cut across the parking lot.
So outside of the noise factor, what's the bad about keeping it here?
Nothing. I guess
Okay.
unless it's aesthetics. People, when you drive up, you see the building, the end of the building now, and you may lose one of the maple trees. We don't know until it actually gets out there to be sighted. You may lose that. However, shrubbery could be planted to take place of that. So noise and aesthetic, looking at the building, if you come up from Governor Hunt Road. If it's in the lawn part, you're less, you're usually looking at the building versus the lawn. And again, I think that right now is kind of where I'm hoping that you give me some lead. And if we don't do it tonight, that's fine. However, I've been kind of on Michelle a little bit to keep looking for grants, and there's they're on timelines, obviously, for grant stuff. So I don't know, again.
If the power's gonna have to be the line's gonna be replaced, what if you change the lines to come in from the other end of the building by the old police department?
They looked at that, and that will almost double the price, because they've gotta come all the way, dig the whole parking lot up, and it has to come in here.
Oh, okay.
So they can't come in the building there, so it raises the price dramatically. So to keep, it can be done. So it can be done. With money, we can do anything.
So
I was just
the
gonna
least
say-
expensive option is just to put it out here.
And it's least expensive by not a ton of money. I guess,
It's like $2,000.
a couple thousand has been, however, again, I want to remind you that this is not a price, this is not a bid. So I think with this, we'd be looking at, plus or minus on both sides. Oh, and again, just so you're aware, it does not include the construction of cutting the road across, the digging. We didn't know, some of that we may do in kind, or we may be able to do it ourselves. Repaving where it's cut, and nor does it include any of the propane or diesel fuel storage. This is, so that is an add-on to this.
Dave, does this include the concrete pads?
It does not.
It doesn't.
So this is just wiring, generator, into the house.
Correct.
Chief, in your opinion, does it make more sense to house that here or to be in the fire department for your emergency management? In your opinion, which is a better location?
Well, they both have pros and cons. This facility, I think back when it was built, was intended to be emergency management of some sort, as you know, because of the plan. It lends itself without a ton of construction to be set up for large quantities of people, for meetings and different breakout areas if we need to do that. If we ever get into where we're entertaining FEMA and all of the other agencies that would be involved, this building would be ideal, because it's when we get into that, emergency management is what it is. It's not feet on the ground, it's management. And what they would be looking for and attacking is a lot of the offices here. The town manager's office, the treasurers, and all of that. So a lot of that would be comfortably here. The fire station during the emergency holds a lot of good positive stuff, because there you are with your feet on the ground with the people that are coming and going. It already has a generator, but it doesn't allow the space, the physical space right now. We did some preliminary costs there, and it's probably going to be 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Long-term wise,
I'm having a thought, and when I have one, I gotta get it out fast because I typically forget about it.
quick, I'll write it down.
Have we looked at utilizing the school for this?
We did. We looked at the school. The school does not hold or have any space that we could use consistently. The school is also planned for a relocation site and a Red Cross evacuation site.
Well, that's what I was kind of thinking, because I know when we're setting up beds as a Red Cross site, it's in the school gymnasium, so that's what drew me to think about the school as a good option if they had a. Like, I think about the teacher's lounge for an example, which I'm not trying to take away your teacher's lounge, I promise. But it has an exterior entrance, and, it has a little kitchen area. It has, kind of everything that you would need to have outside of the equipment itself. But that was just my
No, and it was looked at, the property itself doesn't feasibly fit, because if it is an evacuation or a Red Cross shelter, the operations that are happening at emergency for us, as well as them, would be clashing, and we would take on. The other part of it is, and Hope School will be going back to school and be back in session, where emergency management will still be doing tons of work. And then we might become in conflict with this operation of the school. When the school's closed, it's not conflict, but if, so again, my experience is anything to that level, I think this site or the fire site allows us long-term stuff, which we have to plan for.
Is the generator at the fire department, is that, I mean, that thing's gotta be getting old, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know that, Chris. I don't know how old
So
it
I'm
is.
just curious, if we start looking at the fire department, are we then looking at a new generator for down there that's going to keep us up to capacity and to be able to actually do this?
I know the generator is certainly large enough to take on the additional space that we would be adding. We did check that out. And if I'm thinking now that I did ask that question, and I don't think it's that old of a generator.
Okay.
And theirs, as well as, there's a generator at the EOC now that is small. It's only big enough to run a house, and that's what it's there for. And to keep them, you have to do maintenance and you have to do exercising. So these generators are all on weekly exercises where they start themselves up and they run and they put a load on and then unload, and it does that by itself, and then doing, oil changes and maintenance. However, an interesting thing, I had the propane tanks filled down there fall, and the first time we put gas in there since 2013. So even by exercising and running all that it did, that's the first time we've done any gas filling. So, so I'm going to move on to a couple others. Well, I guess I already mentioned that, it would bring this building up to code. The other part of this is, and again, in the long term, if we come here, there has to be some funding that we'll have to do to move the radios up here. As you know, we have reduced one of our antennas and transmitters because we're not going to use the sirens anymore. So that has reduced the cost, not only in the budget, but it's reduced another antenna that we will have to move. However, there would be 2 to 3 antennas coming up here, which would be a small tower that would stick up someplace, probably down that end. But it's not a tower like you're thinking. It's a 12 by 12 by 12. It's a little triangle thing that would come up there. But there's a cost to that, and we haven't done that figure yet. Because I think we need to, if the generator thing isn't going to work for y'all, then there's no sense in putting more effort and money into figuring out the rest of it. Because the generator's the big part.
Is there a way to share the generator that's at the school?
No,
Okay.
not up here,
Okay.
no.
So where would you locate the EOC and hit this building?
Well, Michelle and I did some investigating, and we thought that there's a couple of rooms that we need. We need a room for the EOC director and management, as well as a radio room. Other stuff can be set up as needed. As you know, the EOC now has the large conference table, and not a lot of that stuff, I think 99% of that stuff in there is the town's anyways. So we could move that up here, so I don't know what you
Police
call
station.
that, yeah, the police station end might become where we could share, or however. The big room, what do you call that, outside the police
The meeting
station?
room?
Oh, we don't call it anything, the other room down here.
Yeah,
Let's give it a name. Let's call it the narthex. I like that word.
okay, that into the building. And that could be set up or taken down, and it used to be, there used to be a bunch of phone jacks all the way around that room.
There still
where-
is.
Okay, however, I'm,
The big one?
No, the little one.
No, he's talking about the big space.
Not the Elmhurst room.
He's not talking about the
The
Elmhurst
Elmhurst
room.
room had
We're talking
all
about the
that stuff, too.
narthex. Not the
Yeah, he's talking about the other half of this. That's where there's a ton of jacks all around that other half.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What if North Star just gave us the building that he's currently in? And then-
Well, and I was gonna kind of wait till Dave was
I
done,
think,
and we can discuss what was talked about that evening as well, as part of this plan.
But we could, on his current subject, what we could do is, since the police are, we're under no obligation anymore to provide desk space and office space for police, although they are using that space. But there's only one person over here, they only need one desk, we could move them in the first room of the police
The old
station
dispatch.
and lock it off, and then the EOC could be the old chief's office, which doesn't get used at all right now, except for storage, and the main part of the police. So we figured that could
Yes,
work.
it does have a new floor. You are correct.
and that's all I had prepared to talk about, so I guess I'm open to your questions or suggestions.
Well, you were at the meeting. Why? So I guess the kind of the beginning and ends of it is it was an emergency management meeting to understand what, as North Star's going through the decommissioning process, and we're losing places, we're losing hydrants, we're losing, those things that, provide us water in case of an incident at North Star, or excuse me, well, it is, at the North Star property. That was where the conversation started, and then Dave kind of led in with the question of what do you want with this building? Do you need it now? Do you want it, 10 years from now? Do you not care about it? And kind of the consensus was they're not concerned about it. So if this is something that we want to look at, no matter what option that we're looking at, I think that we could do some of this through the capital plan. And I would guesstimate that we probably have a good 10 years in that building before they're going to kick us out. And I have no doubt in that. But maybe we plan for 6 years or 8 years in the capital plan and say, in 6 years, we want to build up enough money to, get this generator done, and then it takes 6 months to a year to complete the work. And by the time they want their EOC back, we're here and we're operational. So we're not going to the town and asking for, this is going to probably be a $80,000 gig by the time we're done with everything, with moving, everything that needs to be moved, with the generator, with the things that we need to do to get up to code. It's not gonna be an inexpensive renovation.
This alone is 50. I think we're probably pushing closer to 100.
Yeah.
By the time we're out.
I was being hopeful, but that will allow us some time to build up the money to do the project. I know that kind of, and I know we're looking at grant funding as well, so you gotta kind of keep that in the back of our heads too, but I almost think that we have to plan in a fashion that we won't get any grant funding to do this, and that we're gonna have to do it on our own, and if we get grant funding, awesome. And then we reimburse the money back from the capital plan that we've, set aside to do this project. So I guess the first thing for us to look at is to understand the two options that we spoke about, whether it be the fire department. In the fire department, we need to construct a 10 by 10 addition.
20 by 20.
20 by 20 addition to the fire department. So I really don't think any one is gonna be cheaper than the other, I guess. I think it's probably gonna end up being the same thing. We can absolutely go through the process of getting everything quoted from front to back, of doing it there or doing it here. But
What
I-
additional, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What additional costs would be involved in the fire department? We're looking at the construction, but they've got the generator, they have, is there something other than just that construction that would have to take place down there?
The radio things are still there, because even though they have a tower, we would still have to do the moving of the radios. So that would be another cost. But it's primarily the construction.
Because I can't see a 20 by 20 taking us up to close to that $100,000 mark that we're potentially looking at for this building.
yeah, but the only thing that I'm thinking about is, even if that doesn't bring us to that point, at some point, we need to bring this building up to code
Right.
as well. So even if you put, $60,000 into that versus $100,000 here, we're still gonna end up spending another $20,000-$30,000 to replace the underground and put our meter on the right side of the building, which I have no idea how that ever happened. And we'll probably end up with the same cost. And
I think the additional point you already made was to locate a generator here. Not only are you able to operate yourselves, but other town services, town office can keep in business too.
Well, that's one of the advantages, but let me be perfectly clear. I'm not here advocating that we move out of where we're at just for the sake of moving.
Sure.
I want to be clear. I am comfortable, and that's a great location. The way they're set up, it works perfectly, however they did that when they did. But being where we were a few months ago with the unknown is different than where we are right now. By moving the EOC to this facility will allow you to get grants that you would probably not be allowed to apply for, because the EOC would open those doors for grants. I don't think you find grant money is quickly available. And I'm not saying it won't be that way another 5 years either, it might even be more, but they come and go.
yeah, well, that's the other thing to consider, is that, if we're able to hold on to that building for the rest of our lives, after, North Star's long gone, do we maintain that as our EOC? Obviously, it's another liability, it's another, foundation and footprint that the town owns. But
Would that need an updated generator?
No.
Okay.
No, right now, the town has taken over all the utilities and expenses of that property. We pay the oil, electric, we pay all of that out of the $15,000 grant, or a $15,000 line item. No, it's not a line item, it's an article. And, I'll give you, for instance, this year we used 127 gallons of oil. However, I'm going to tell you that the hot water tank exploded and went out a few weeks ago.
they're done.
And North Star, through Josh's connections, stepped up to the plate and they replaced that. And that was it's off the boiler, and it wasn't a $100 hot water replacement. So we do pay those expenses, the operating expenses there. And it works out perfectly for what we need. However, I do think in the long run that taking and moving it somewhere, and I think, again, I think you're right, Josh, that 10-year mark isn't an absurd mark at this point. We do have a contract. We have a contract which I'm assuming that they will rewrite. It's under Intergy's letterhead right now. And our contract with them spells out a 6-month notice of eviction. So we told them we'd let them add it to 10 years, but, so again, I guess what I hear you saying, and I may be wrong here, is that we probably will do some more work before you make a decision on the generator at all.
Yeah, Patty's got her hand up, and I'm just curious what she has to say.
Throw this right into the Governor Hunt house.
Another consideration, where you are now, there are issues with the septic. It goes under the fence, and it's actually on what is North Star property. So if the town were to take that building over as our emergency management, we would also have to have a new septic system. Because once that plant is all decommissioned, the septic systems may be staying, but somebody else will own that property, and they may not come in and say, oh, okay, you can keep, using this septic system. Depending on what they're gonna build on that property, that may be an issue. So it's really something we need to keep in the back of our minds. It was always a thought to keep the emergency management building through Entergy, but because of all of these septic system issues, that's why we didn't. So there's a little history there.
So, yeah, that's definitely a consideration too, of staying there, and what expenses that, we would incur, or possible expenses that we'd incur by staying there. I think we can give you some direction as far as the location of the generator. I guess, is everybody kind of in agreement as far as the fire department versus here, that which one are we kind of leaning towards? Obviously, Dave is not really advocating one way or the other, but feels that this building is the better of the two to do what he needs to do here. So, Chris, what are your thoughts as far as fire department versus town hall?
I don't know, I would really be curious what the cost difference is between the two buildings, and obviously I respect your opinion, but, if we're talking $20,000, or are we talking an $80,000 difference, I think that when we put this into the capital plan, we're gonna get called out on that, and people are gonna want some answers as to why we chose one over the other.
Sure. Jeff?
My preference would be here at the town office and put it right here. We've already talked about a number of advantages for placement here. We talked about a lot of the electrical systems need to be updated regardless. And again, maintaining town services in the town office operating too. So I think there's a number of benefits to having it here.
Cindy?
I'm not sure, is the Governor Hunt house an option?
Are you asking me?
I am.
I don't own the Governor Hunt house,
Well,
nor will I ever own the Governor Hunt house, so that will always be a decision that's made by the town. I do know that, and I'll speak to this in a few minutes, the Friends of Vernon have plans to try to keep the whole, if we take over the Governor Hunt house, it has to be sustainable, it has to pay for itself. So some of the ways of doing that is, to rent out the conference rooms, and there are a whole bunch of things that we actually have consultants looking at. You carve out a big piece of that for emergency management, that's less that we have to be able to use to be able to raise money.
If you were to use that space, Dave, you would essentially need the, I guess, new conference room for your needs.
Well, we would need to have it available.
Yeah.
It's the same as this
Sure.
room that you've named.
Yeah.
We don't need it all
The
the time.
narthex.
We would just need to have it available to us. So primarily, right now to operate, our daily operation is 2 rooms, 2
Yeah.
offices, a radio and an office, a radio room and an office room. But to gear up to do what we do, we would need that large space on wherever we go.
And
And if we build a fire station, it will be a large space and 2 offices.
And with the Governor Hunt House, it becomes the same situation of where we need to still upgrade the stuff that's here.
You know, additionally is the aesthetics that we mentioned. I don't think a generator quite goes with a 18th century building.
We can put a picket fence around it or something.
I think that's already under generator power, auxiliary power. It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Now, that being said, I don't know who owns the generator and if it stays there. I don't know. But right now, there is a generator there. And there are also rooms upstairs too that could be used for offices, but it means going up those old twisty back stairs all the time.
And there's no heat in there either, I don't believe, in the upstairs. Well,
Well,
Well, Dave doesn't heat the house that he's got now, so.
But I will need a stair chair.
My other concern is, we're close to railroad tracks here. Is that not one of your main concerns now that Yankee's gone?
It is. The railroad tracks are a significant concern, and we've had numerous meetings in different places, and, but the Miller Crossing is probably the most significant spot in the tracks. However, there's lots of track space, miles from Miller's Crossing south and north, that are just as dangerous and could take place. So there's really, I mean, if we could pick our accidents, it would be nice, but we know that the Miller Crossing is a high traffic crossing, but it's also a protected crossing, as they call. But there's 5 other crossings of that railroad track that are unprotected. So the risks versus the train are higher in other places than they are at the Miller Crossing because of the protection.
And I know the fire station has a railroad behind it, but you think of the accident in Canada, and if something like that happened, you would wipe out your EOC.
Yeah, and so both the spots that we've talked about, unless we went up on top of Huckle Hill someplace, that's not a bad idea. We're gonna run into those issues wherever.
So I can't decide at this point.
okay. Gene?
Well, the question I was having was enough space in a situation, which I wasn't sure the fire station was sounding that way, but it sounds like the addition is planning for that, not just office space, but additional workspace.
The fire station uses all of their space that they have now. So there's
Yeah.
no
Right.
option to take over any of their corners. So it would have to be an addition.
And I wondered if that was enough, just seeing what is potentially available here.
And we did look at that, and it lends itself to have an addition on that foundation that we put in a number of years ago. It would be built right on top of that.
There's a foundation there.
Yep, yep.
All right, so I'll give my 2 cents. I agree with Jeff that the town office is probably the better way to go with option 1 as far as generator location. I don't like the idea of putting the generator out there, and I would disagree that it's less aesthetically. I think it's worse out there aesthetically than it is next to the building. I think it kind of, in a way, encroaches on a resident as well. I know if I lived across the street and looked out my window and saw a big generator where I used to see the front of my town office, I would probably not be a happy person. So, all those things considered, I would say here with the generator here, or option 2 is stay with the OC that we currently have and deal with, a possible septic issue down the road for, $15,000-$20,000 and whatever, maintenance items come up as a home ages. That would be, I almost like that idea better than anything else, because it kind of negates Sandy's concerns of being close to a railroad incident. We would be, far enough away. We're set up there, we have everything. The only concern is long-term maintenance, removing it from the tax rolls, and, a possible septic issue. Those are the only three reasons that I can come up with right now to not stay there, if that becomes an option to us. And I think we could find out fairly quickly if that could be an option to us, like within days and making a couple phone calls and an email and saying, hey, if we wanted to stay here for good, what can we do? And I think that's very feasible.
And then
to
could
do.
they give us a document allowing us to have our septic on their property? We have homes in town like that.
It would, I don't know that it would transfer to the new owner is the only
Would.
problem.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause it's-
So, yeah, I think we could make that happen as well, but I don't know, because that changes their ability to redevelop the property. I think if it were me, I would tell you no. If I were running North Star, I would say, no, I'm not gonna sign that for you, but, we'll help you out X, Y, Z with, if the thing needs a new roof in the next 10 years before you officially take it over, or whatever the case may be, we'll, do a couple of those things to make sure you're not running into a maintenance pit when you officially take it over, so to speak. I personally like that option. The only thing it doesn't do is fix our issues in the town office and allow us to continue to operate, the town offices if we currently lose power, to Jeff's point. So I'm kind of in between staying where we are, if that's an option, or going all in here with the generator outside the wall here.
How many days a year does the town office close for lack of power?
We closed a couple of days probably last year. We had a power issue at one point.
$50,000
Once
for a
was
couple
water.
days.
Water, once was water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not real often. I mean, I do remember having storms that, had the power go out, but not.
I'm not
really that
opposed
much.
to entertaining the idea of it being in this building, and I understand what the two of you are saying. I'm just looking at that, that's not a small number.
No.
Where if we are able to keep the current EOC, this 50,000, which is going to be drastically higher than that number just went way down just to fix the problems that we have here. And, I don't think that we're missing that much business if we're closed a day or two throughout the year because of power outages.
Yeah, I don't disagree in that, but, I think if we had to decide, if North Star told us tomorrow, you need to get out in 6 months, I think I would be all in here for those reasons, and not necessarily the fire department.
And that's understandable. I'm really curious what a closer end number is going to
Yep.
be.
Well, I think, if I may interrupt here, I think our best, and the good thing is we're having this discussion now versus all of a sudden. So I think the true best spot is to stay where we are. That is truly. However, at the time when we started this process, the cards were differently turned.
Sure.
But now they are. I think that gives us more of an opportunity to even do more work for the firehouse or here, because we're not being pushed. And I'm extremely comfortable staying where we are. That, believe me, that's everything's wired, it works, and maintenance is. However, I've been washing dishes, my fingers, could we hire a dishwasher?
Don't they have some explorers that need time at the fire department? You can teach them something while they're washing, or I don't know.
Should have thought.
You give them life skills.
Yeah.
You can start fires while you're cooking that they can put out.
Don't say that. So I think that's where we're at. I will do more homework as we get closer, and I think what someone said is if we got forced out, we could operate out of here temporarily rather quickly. And then look at the long-term stuff, but,
So I guess Dave and I have homework to do, and I need the direction from you guys of what that homework is. Do you want me to explore the option between Dave and I and North Star and Chris, who was at that meeting as well, about maintaining that building? Do you want me to ask that question and say, hey, can we have this?
I think that makes the most sense.
Yep.
And so we actually have that answer in our hand that, yes, we can have it, and now we plan on, moving a septic possibly, or, whatever the case may be in the capital plan to fix the issues that are there.
I'm sorry, Chief, you did say that the generator that is currently at that house is fine, it will do everything that you need in the case of an emergency, and,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, that generator was installed probably 5 years ago.
I was gonna say, I was on the emergency management
Yeah.
committee when it was installed,
Yeah.
so it hasn't been that long.
And it runs the whole property. Yeah, and it's on an automatic transfer switch and everything, so.
So that's my homework, is to explore that question, and I'm actually going to see the guy I need to talk to tomorrow evening, one way or the other anyway, so.
Now, given all of that and everything that's written here, I kind of think that we need to have this issue looked at separately as well.
What?
The electric issue here, before it becomes an issue.
Sure, and I wouldn't be opposed, even if we kept the EOC over there, I wouldn't be opposed to us still looking at putting a generator in this building, regardless of whether the EOC's here or not.
But your point, sorry.
No.
Your point about, as far as procuring grants, well, Michelle can answer too, but, the grants are more easily procured if you were to move to this building.
That would be probably yes. And I don't, she's more, I don't do grants, I know, but emergency services wise, grants are probably, more available than they are just for general operation of it.
Yeah.
If we owned that house, why does it change anything from if we put it here?
Well, it depends on what you need the grant for. Right now, I know where I can get a grant for, have a good chance at getting a grant for a generator.
Mhm.
But if we need a shower built in here, that grant's not gonna cover that.
Yeah.
If we need a shower in here, there are community facility infrastructure grants that might cover that, but it's not gonna cover wiring at the EOC. So it depends on what we need over
So-
there.
But
Moving
we-
the septic, I'd have to do a little digging.
But we only, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we only really need grant money if we go somewhere else than where we are right now. If we stayed in the current building that we are right now, outside of the expense of possibly moving a septic system, we don't need grant money for a generator, we don't need grant money for a shower, we don't need any of that money because everything is already in place.
That's correct.
So the grant writing goes out the window, it doesn't matter. If we maintain that building, and might be able to latch on to some grant money for general improvements to our EOC over there to do the septic, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
But by having the EOC in this building, does that open up some other grants that would benefit not just is that going to do something for the town office building down the road by housing the two of these together? Or the grants you're referring to specifically around the construction and movement of this?
Well, I think it would, because now any grant you write for this building is going to have an impact. If it's a structural thing, it's going to have an impact on the EOC. So now I can look for grants in two different places. Because I can look under emergency services and I can look under community facility improvements. It just gives another facet of the services offered from this facility. So that's what you're doing, you're just adding another service that's coming out of the building.
And I know that you can't say one way or the other, but in your opinion, the likelihood of receiving a $50,000 grant to put a generator in here?
Pretty high. Well, it wouldn't be 50 because there'd be some sort of
Right,
match,
right, I
but
get it.
yes, it's pretty high. And I have to look into the wiring, because I might be able to put that in there too.
So here's
The
a,
radios.
so here's a thought. If we never move into this building as an EOC, and we stay where we are right now, does it make sense to look to do this project, the generator project, which will include getting us up to code and doing all the things that need to be done, if we're gonna have grant funding to do it?
Do you think that that grant, we would still get that grant if we were not moving the EOC?
For a generator that we don't need? I mean, if, I don't, for what? What would the grant be for? Because, I mean, if we needed a generator at the new place, yes, the chances would be the same.
But
But we already
I'm
have a
talking
generator.
about if we remove the EOC, is there a possibility of getting grant funding to put a generator on this building?
Yes, there is.
To maintain town
Not
services?
sure I can get it
if-
in the same place. I mean, I'd have to look, but I'm sure there's somewhere I could find something. Because now it's not an emergency.
Right.
This grant is through like FEMA that I'm talking about, so they're really
Okay.
concentrating on hazard mitigation. And it'd be hard to say that the
Right.
town
I-
clerk
I'm
and
just-
treasurer need to are like mitigating a hazard, so. But I could probably find something somewhere.
I can see the pros and cons to all of this, so I'm really not sure what the way to go is. But
Well, yeah.
the fact remains that we have been presented with a problem in this specific building that is going to have to be dealt with.
One way or the other, yeah.
So,
And it doesn't have to be done now.
Right.
It can be done 10 years from now, but it still has to be in consideration
Yeah,
as we're doing everything.
it gives you some early heads up about preparing maybe some capital improvements for this building.
Yeah.
Um,
Which we have a lot of capital improvements that need to be done to this building already. So I'll do my homework with North Star. Dave, you want to do a little bit more homework on the fire department options, so we just have an idea of that? Because it kind of sounds like we have a pretty good direction here. We have a pretty good direction for the current EOC, but we really have the fire department's is a unknown entity at this point.
yeah.
So let's make that a known entity. Let's if you can do that work, I'll do the work with North Star about our current EOC, and then what is our deadline on this, on the grant that you're talking about if we move the EOC here?
I believe it's May 24th. But
Is it?
there's a lot of, like, I gotta do a cost benefit analysis through FEMA. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of work that needs to be done that numbers, I'm gonna need numbers.
yeah, I
And
mean,
so
that's
if we
the other
can-
problem with
Yeah,
this, is
yeah.
I think we need some better figures than.
It's a small start to a big project. Those numbers.
Understood.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
'Cause-
just coming under the road and stuff like that, I don't know if that's something that
Well, again,
David would be involved in, or is that
That's what
going
I'm
out
asking.
to bid? Is that, I mean, there's a lot on here that,
Yeah.
well, and it's written that way specifically so we don't get this
Right.
board in trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
Because this is not a bid, this is merely me asking a ton of questions without, tipping, King Electric one way and then, I mean, he was very good, he went through a lot and we talked about more than what's there, but it's not applicable at this point.
Yeah.
And so again, I think, Chris, you're right, that is not an arbitrary figure, that's a figure that gives you a good base to say minus or plus.
So here's a question to you, Michelle. The grant that we're looking at, is it an annual grant? Is it a reoccurring grant, or this is just a?
This is not a recurring grant. This is a grant that kicks in, I believe, I could be wrong, it kicks in when a disaster of some sort happens in the state, and the governor gets the okay from FEMA to declare that a state of emergency. It opens this grant up to the whole state. So once that's over, this grant goes away.
So I'm gonna be the not popular one and say we're not gonna have enough information by the time this grant is due to be able to even try to go after it.
I mean, we can always write the grant and go for the grant, and if in 6 months you change your mind about getting the generator or relocating, we don't have to accept it. So we could always say, you know, thank you, but we decided to go in another direction, we're not gonna take the money.
I don't
There's
even
always
think
that.
you're gonna have enough information to do it, one way or the other.
Well, I could just write the grant for the generator, and that's it.
Okay.
If I want, I mean, if we want, we don't have to do anymore, and then I just do the cost benefit analysis on the generator itself.
Okay.
You know, I'd like to put the wiring, the radio room wiring into it too. But we can write it for what we've got.
So do we wanna move forward with that process and then understanding that we can do an about face, but does that hurt us down the road with grants from FEMA?
No, it shouldn't.
Okay.
Well, let me be the devil's advocate here. Why do you want to go through all that work if you're truly not interested and you don't have a good feeling about it? Because there's not a positive feeling here from doing this, especially knowing the thing that we have the ability to stay where we are. And that's the popular one for all of us. And I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that putting that workload on you to do something that isn't.
That was what I was kind of getting at, but.
So I think that you should have your conversation, and dependent on how that conversation goes, then we revisit whether we're asking Michelle to write this grant. I mean, if North Star says, no, you can keep it while we have it, but then, no, we're not giving it to you, then it's time to move on this other thing.
Okay. Hey, Patty.
Hate to talk about septic systems,
Yeah.
but, and I don't really remember, because it was too long ago, but I know that there is an issue with the septic system, so that's why it's on the other side of the fence. So I would talk with either Brian Teets or Mike McKinney and make sure that a septic system can be put on the property where the emergency management building is. Because there's some and I don't remember what it was, because it's never been my bailiwick, but there was some reason why the septic system was on the other side of the fence. So I would check that out before you make a decision to keep that forever, and then find out, once you get the building, that you can't put a septic system on that property.
Yeah, my hope is that I can talk them into signing what Sandy's talking about, but again, that hurts redevelopment and potentially could hurt us as well if we have that, which, I mean, at that time you can move it anyway. But.
So, didn't the fence get moved through the years? Could potentially that septic have actually been on the correct side of the fence, but the fence has been moved out
And
over the
I don't
years?
remember that, Jean, that's why I said I would
Yeah.
talk to either Brian Teets or Mike McKinney.
Yeah.
I know the fence has definitely been moved, and that fence will be coming down. So will the septic system, when the fence comes down, be on that property? Or is it still gonna be on the other property that's gonna be sold eventually for somebody else to do
Right.
something? Before you make that kind of a commitment,
Right.
even if they're giving us the building, if you can't put a septic system in, the building's not any good to us.
Right.
So, I mean, either one of those two should know the answer to that. I
Right.
just don't remember.
I'll touch base with Mike. I'll touch base with North Star.
Look at the,
And
Our
if we
next meeting
can,
is what, April 2nd, right?
Yeah.
So,
should have a design there.
yeah, I was just gonna say that Carol should have a,
It's in the town clerk's office in the vault.
yeah. Can you look at that part of it, Michelle? If the septic system sits on that piece of property, if we were deeded that piece of property, if it's all on that?
What's the address of that property, Dan? Do you know off the top of your head?
Is it 312?
That's okay, I'll look it up.
No, it does.
I have it somewhere.
The electric bill's in there. It has the address.
All right.
I think that we need to talk about this again at April 2nd to determine what you come up with
I
and
agree.
And I'll see what I can come up with between now and then to give you to.
Okay. It's a lot to think about. It's a big decision to make.
I mean, I think a big part of that would be the cost of moving the radios so that if we do decide to come in here, that could be built into the grant.
Sure,
I think
absolutely.
that we should have some type of a number for that.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to do is keep pushing this out and pushing it out, and then you have 48 hours to write a grant that doesn't take 48 hours to write. We need
Start the grant.
to move.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I can tell you in my history, generator grants, even though this one may go away, they evolved either on FEMA or on the state level through the state emergency management. They're not infrequently.
Sure.
I mean, it may be gone next year, but it's not uncommon to see those out there.
Okay. Do we have any more questions for Dave on this issue?
Okay, thank you. Great
Thanks,
discussion.
Dave.
Thanks, Chief.
Come on.
Thank you.
Patty, I'll let you come up and speak since you've been sitting here, and we have 2 or 3 other items on the agenda, but I know you want to get home, so.
Well, I do too.
Yeah.
I know, I was just thinking.
Come on, we've had a lot of really short meetings over this last
Yeah,
year.
you know,
We can endure some long ones here and there.
I have to say, I came here thinking 5 minutes and I'll be out of there, because they never have long meetings anymore.
It's a big agenda.
And it just so happens I have my notes for today on Governor Hunt.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, I'm here on behalf of the Planning Commission because Jeff wouldn't. Um,
So it's really your fault that she's up late.
and
She's a better speaker than I am.
I had a busy weekend too, so I'm tired. So anyway, I wanted to kind of bring you up to date with the Planning Commission wanted to bring you up to date on what's happening with the Governor Hunt House, what the Friends of Vernon have been up to, and where the process is, because we felt it was real important to keep you under in the loop. Anyway, the Friends hired a consultant to look at costs for bringing the building, future maintenance costs, not 20 years down the road, but maybe in the next 5-6 years, what maintenance costs were going to be involved, because everybody wanted to know exactly what we were taking on if we took on the Governor Hunt House. The consultant has just about done their analysis. We know that the roof is like 25 years old, so even though it's in good shape right now, it's only a matter of time before we're going to need a new roof. There's some sill work that needs to be done. There's work that needs to be done around the door frame of the front of the building.
Sill as on the foundation?
I'm sorry?
The sill work as in foundation work?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's doing that analysis now, plus the building's going to need to be painted now. He's going to give us a total, he's going to let us know what each job is going to cost, what that total would be. Some of it we can get as in kind. I mean, there's plenty of people that are willing to grab a paintbrush and paint the Governor Hunt House if they want to keep it bad enough. So, that's a discussion we're going to have in time. I'm not getting up on a ladder, but I do the low part.
I'm not getting on a ladder either, so.
So we're also going to hire a consultant to help us with looking at what the sustainability of the building is. Because if we take on the Governor Hunt House, it has to be paid for itself. The taxpayers can't be on the hook for this building. And that is something that has been very clear from the Planning Commission to the Friends, and the Friends have run with that and understand that. So, there's a lot of, we had an open house that was very well attended. I was really impressed with how many people attended the meeting. And we had a long conversation about, what can you see happening in this building? We can rent out conference space. There's always a big need for conference space, especially conference space that has more than 2 parking spaces with it all over the area. I serve on a board myself. We have a yearly, what we call a retreat. We just go somewhere and we hash, what our next year's plans are out for the day. And we rent something. So why can't we rent the Governor Hunt House instead of renting something in Putney, you know? Bring people to Vernon, it gets people in town, and it raises some money for us. So there's some things that are in the works there. Bob Spencer and myself met with Joe Lynch last week, and we talked about what's been going on with the Governor Hunt House, we let him know that the town is still very interested in the Governor Hunt House. So we talked about our future plans, how Entergy may be able to help us with a little bit of what we have to do in the future, in the very near future. And the problem that we're running up to right now is the Friends still don't have their 501c3. Still haven't gotten it yet. So when Entergy finally says, look, you need to make a decision. If they don't have their 501c3 yet, we do have options. One is for the town to take it over until their 501c3 comes in. Another is something like housing and conservation. I don't want to see it go out of town, but whatever we choose to do at that point, it's going to have to be a town vote. I just really think that the town needs to maintain ownership, no matter how great the contract is written with anybody. We need to maintain ownership of that building if we're going to indeed keep it. So I think that's about it. Anybody have any questions?
Are the Friends still actively going for the 501c3?
Yes.
I thought they are, okay.
Yes, they are. They have been an extremely hardworking group of people.
And
Really have
I'm
done a
not
great
disputing
job.
that. I thought at one of the meetings, they said that they had kind of given up on that because they hadn't gotten any answers, and somebody at the federal level had told them that,
You're probably not gonna get it.
I
Yeah.
think that was
Well-
more when they were trying to get a 501c3 and they had listed the Grange and they were talking about
Yeah.
rentals and stuff, and basically the feds are like, you know,
That looks
you're
like a
not.
money-making
Yeah, it's
operation there.
it's a nonprofit, you're not a nonprofit anymore, now you're going out to
Yeah.
make money, and so it has been
Yeah.
changed completely though to just
Okay.
take over the Governor Hunt House, and the Grange, I don't think has even been in the discussions with the new application.
I think
Okay.
they withdrew that first application.
yeah, I knew there was
So now they're,
something there. I
like,
just wanted
redoing
to,
it.
I didn't want to sit on something if it wasn't really.
But some people think that the holdup might have been, you know, when they had the shutdown, that puts everything back. So I think it's just federal government, and they just don't do anything fast, no matter how many shutdowns you get, you're still gonna wait. So, any other questions? So if we need to warn a town, you need to have a town meeting, have a vote on this. What is the, it's 45 days, right? You have to warn it 45 days before the meeting? Okay, I couldn't remember for sure. And thanks to Michelle, we are actively looking for grants too. She is worth her weight in gold, this woman. Every time you sit at a meeting, you hear about this grant and that grant and the other grant. So we did apply for the municipal planning grant, and we didn't get it this year, but we got it last year, so you can't expect to get it every year.
And the year before.
And the year before, so,
Yeah.
you know, we've gotten our share, but we continue to look, and Michelle's always been very helpful to us, so thank you.
Cool.
Anything else?
Thanks for coming tonight, speaking,
Oh, you're very welcome.
so I didn't have to.
You're very, very welcome. It's cold out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the employee performance review, self-assessments forms and performance review forms.
Oh, they did great.
You'll find them in your packet,
How'd you like them?
actually.
I like them, looked at them, really good.
So, Michelle and I kind of worked on these together to bring to you to look at.
Geez, do you just want mine? Oh, you did find them? I thought you were
I
still digging.
found this one, I didn't find the other one. And I know this one because I did this one, but
Oh, you did the small one?
I did the small
big
one. I did the small one. Admittedly.
I think they look great.
So, yeah, we kind of stole these from, I stole mine from Duke University and a couple other places to put this together. And where was yours from?
MIT.
MIT. So we took smart people's stuff and we made it our own.
Huh.
Yes, yes. No copyright infringement.
I have to redo the whole thing.
Yeah, she had to retype her whole thing. I found a Word document with Dukes. And I was able to reuse it and make it mine. So it used to have
We
a
did
nice Duke
change a
University
couple of
logo
it.
right there.
So do you need a motion on this or just consensus?
Just a consensus is fine, and if there's anything else that you think should be reviewed, or if there's any other questions that you want to ask, these are the formats that I'll follow. And if there's anything you want to add or take out of here, just let me know.
So these ones are going to go to the employee, they're going to fill it out and then sit with who to discuss?
Me.
With you.
And then, select board members, are we supposed to fill out the self-assessment form too? No?
Elected officials do not
can.
get an annual
like
review.
to.
So
You'd have to have the whole town.
on the self-assessment
Reviewing us.
one, if they are coming to sit with you, I don't feel it's necessary that their supervisor signs that. That's my
Oh.
opinion, that I don't think that.
That would be me signing that.
Michelle is,
Okay, all right.
Michelle
So
is
this
the
is
town
I was
employee
just thinking about
supervisor.
like the highway department, if they had to go to David to get a signature on this, no?
No, and the
Okay.
highway, David's two employees at the highway would get reviewed by David, not. me.
Okay, all right,
I
that's
would
all
just
I was
review
curious
it.
about.
That's good.
Everybody's happy?
Very.
No changes need to be made?
Nope, I'll put my back.
Yes, you can have
Yours
yours
on your
back.
computer.
Yes, I do have mine on my computer. All
I
right.
don't even pack it,
I do, it's just I can't find it right
Yeah.
now. I get all discombobulated during
Yeah.
meetings and I lose stuff and, so the next thing on our list is Michelle Milliker, the town, what is your title? The select board secretary's, minimum pay per meeting. So right now, when we have our really awesome 15, 20, 30-minute meetings, Michelle puts in for an hour and gets $13 to drive here from Guilford to
Should be minimum
take our
2
minutes
hours.
and drive back. So what I'm proposing, and tell me if this is feasible, is a $50 minimum per meeting. And then if anything goes obviously above and beyond that, like tonight.
Does
it would
that
be-
do anything to the change that we just made in the budget?
No, if we have, I figured if we have 26 meetings, which is essentially what we have, at $50 a whack, it's $1,300. We budgeted $3,000 for that position. So even if you bumped it up, we would have to have 60 meetings throughout the course of the year. And if we have 60 meetings throughout the course of the year, I'm gonna cry.
Well, she also charges for her hours to type up
Yes.
minutes,
Yep.
but yeah, we would be fine.
So I think we would be fine budget-wise. So that's my proposal, and I'm open to hear anybody else's ideas.
I support it. You know, if we have a 15-minute meeting, she's losing money coming over here,
Mhm.
driving back and forth.
Yep, I agree.
And I don't believe that's fair.
Chris? Are we okay with $50 number per meeting as a minimum?
What's your hourly?
13.
That would be a lot better to set a minimum, because there is a town policy, if you get called in, you get a minimum 2-hour pay, but
Yeah.
that still is not gonna be,
Yeah.
that's not really enough.
I make a motion to set it at $50.
Second.
Moved and seconded to set the select board secretary's minimum pay at $50 per meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Good. That was quicker than I thought it was gonna be. Restroom signage is our last agenda item.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we change all restrooms in the building to read restroom and not specify sex or gender.
We can't. By law, we cannot do that.
I
Because
withdraw. Sandy, you're up. I tried. You told me to remember. I did.
I know, you're supposed to have.
He's
the
been waiting all
one
week to say that.
The skirt, the pants,
Shot
the
down.
She
skirt
explained it.
pants, the 50 people
We
on
are,
the picture.
I have on order 2 signs that have the man and woman on them. No, nothing else funky, just the man and the woman. And they will go on the restroom down here and the restroom upstairs. The men's room need to stay men's rooms.
Because they have a
there's
urinal.
More than one stall and there's no
Alright.
lock on the door.
There it is.
The guidelines for the state rules are pretty specific on what, I mean, I guess maybe we could make them, but it's gonna be very awkward if someone is at that urinal and a woman walks in, because there's no door on it and there's no lock on it.
I don't really care
So I
what,
really don't
what the
think that's-
signage is.
Right. It's
You
just
were the one
because
that was
people-
approached by it.
People
so.
were coming up to me at town meeting and saying, you really need to do something about that signage downstairs, because I don't know, so.
So we're good. Yes?
Yeah, because you had mentioned it last
Yeah.
time, so.
Okay.
Yes.
So, in the library, the restroom, I believe just says restroom.
Do you want to sign in the library?
Are we supposed to by law then?
No, it can just say restroom. It
You
doesn't, but
Oh.
Sandy said that there was just some confusion at election, and so she wanted the people on.
Oh, I see,
The
okay,
door.
no, nobody
No,
gets
it can just
confused
say-
over there.
Because right now down here,
Everybody
it just says
uses it.
restroom with a
It says
handicap sign.
restrooms,
Yeah.
plural, so maybe
Rooms.
it's just like
Oh,
restroom.
I didn't
It would
even
make it-
realize.
Yeah, I didn't even
But
title
we'll put the
that.
man and woman on.
I see, okay.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Thank you,
we're
Chris.
fine then.
for reading
You're
that.
welcome. It only
He was-
took me a month to remember.
I was gonna
but-
say, he was so excited about it, and we just shot him down.
That's the story of my
Yeah,
life.
okay, yeah, there's no place in that paperwork.
I wanna take down all the restroom signs. Let's just take
I
down.
really just wanted to make the motion and adjourn this meeting and go home.
We could just take down all the restroom signs, so nobody knows exactly what door the restroom is.
It's a big sign.
So
It says
there's no
restroom.
sign at all. No, you take the restroom signs down, you take all the,
Blank doors.
so nobody knows. You gotta open doors until you find a potty.
You just said potty.
I just said a potty.
Hey, we're getting a little touchy.
How about that, Punching?
Ah, it's almost 9 o'clock, folks. All right, so we have our restroom signage squared away. Thank you, Michelle.
Yes, Ross.
Public participation, non-agenda items. Yeah, thanks. Not so much. Correspondence and town admin report, please.
Okay, well, all your correspondence is in your packet. There was kind of a lot this week. The only thing I did not include in there is for the Brattleboro Salvage Clean Field project. I didn't include all of their documentation for
Thank you.
their permit. I tried to give you sort of the heads up about what that was, and the Diallo information. I did not, that's like an inch long packet, so I didn't give you all the exhibits. If you want to see them, they're all like copies of old deeds and that kind of thing. If you'd like to see them, they're right here. Also in your correspondence, you'll see a letter from the Department of Taxes. And if you had remembered, we had a special meeting to approve our request for the listers to ask for an equalized education. I forgot how they put that.
They said no.
And it was denied, however, the listers are appealing it. The town plan has finally been finalized, all finalized and has been sent to the printer. Along with the town plan, we'll also get some large maps printed up that we can put up in here that might be useful when developers are coming in and we can have something to reference. And that's all still covered under the grant, the MPG grant from 2 years ago. So that won't cost us any money. Also, there's a ton of upcoming trainings available. I put some in your packet, but I do have extra information. There's a grant writing workshop in Bellows Falls. There's a health officer training and tax appeals workshop. The Spring Select Board Institute. I think I put that in your packet. Emergency training for executives and senior officials. That's like an EOC, emergency response
That's
stuff.
in Dover, right?
That is in Brattleboro. That, there's one at Wyndham Regional Commission.
You can go to
And I
Dover
have,
if you want.
I
There's
do
something
have
in
all the
Dover going
information
on.
on it if you're interested. There's a emergency, oh yeah, the emergency planning, training, and writing workshop is in Dover. And then
That's the
there's
one.
a Southern Vermont Economy Summit, which is in Mount Snow in May. So if you want information on any of those, I have the actual postcards for it. And other than that, working with Dave to get all of that done and catching up from everything that I put aside before till town meeting was over.
Is that it?
That's it.
We're adjourned.